In this video, I'm sharing 6 changes that you can make to your to-do list that make them more helpful and make it easier for you to get things done. Idea number 1. You have a task that you know you need to do. It's been sitting on the back of your mind forever and a day, but you haven't started it. When you think about this task, it makes you feel kind of guilty, so you avoid thinking about it. Then one day you suck it up and immediately relief, but also shock because it took like 10 minutes. It just wasn't that hard. Why did you procrastinate it so much? One reason that stands out amongst the crowd is because it was too hard to get started, which is why idea number 1 is to add a launch task. A launch task is the task before the task. You can have multiple launch tasks. For example, instead of write report, your launch tasks might be sit down at computer, open up report template. Instead of tidy up, your launch task might be yell at Google Home to set a 20-minute timer. Stand up. For literally any task that you don't feel natural motivation to do, I would recommend adding to your to-do list a list of very simple launch tasks. A lot of the time, all that you need to do is point yourself in the right direction and you will naturally keep on going. But part of that is just getting yourself moving in the right direction, and that is what launch tasks are all about. Idea number 2. When you create to-do lists that confuse quick ticks and projects, you can kill your motivation. And it's so easy to confuse the two. So quick ticks are tasks that are one and done. These are tasks that, in my mind, take under 20 minutes. For example, answering a quick email, filling out a form. Then there are projects. Where it's easy to mess up is to assume that all projects are big, like launching a book, creating your website, planning a vacation. Those are all big projects. But for most people, most of your life is actually made up of mini projects. For example, meal prepping is actually a project for most people. It takes longer than 20 minutes. It's a multi-step task that carries a bunch of separate quick ticks. Sitting down and actually planning the meals, writing the grocery list, doing the grocery shopping. All of that could happen over the span of a few days. If you have something listed on your to-do list that says meal prep, that's a mini project. That is not a quick tick, one and done task. If most of the tasks that you're writing down on your to-do list are actually mini projects, it's going to be really easy to feel disheartened, to get demotivated, to feel like you're not making any progress, because it'll take you days to actually tick anything off of your list, especially if you are a small bites, little bits here and there kind of person and not much of a get it all done in one go kind of person. Instead, when you are writing any to-do list, break it up into quick ticks and projects. Always make your projects visible so that you know what your quick ticks are moving you towards. Otherwise, you're just going to feel like you're on the task hamster wheel and you are getting nowhere. But even if you do break your task list down into quick ticks and projects, it can still end up overwhelming you unless you implement the following idea. Idea number 3. Imagine if a close friend asked you for help. They were like, please, I need help packing for my weekend away. I'm just struggling with this. Come over, help me pack. And you were like, of course, we are friends. That's what we do for each other. You help them, they finish packing, and then they're like, babe, actually, like, could you clean my house? I'm just so panicked. I'm in such a rush. I have somewhere to be. And before you can say no, they have left the house. Then they text you. Hello, could you run to the shops and get me some groceries? I'm just so stressed right now. Hopefully you're good at saying no and setting your limits, but you're also going to start to see this person a little bit differently. You are not going to trust their requests in the future. They are now the type of person who, if you give them an inch, they're going to try to take a mile. You might know where I'm going with this. Imagine if you wrote yourself a to-do list, which is essentially one part of you asking another part of you, hey, can you get this done for me? I need your help with these things. And that part of you was like, yes, of course, I've got you. Let's do this. And then you got to the end of the list and that other part of you was like, actually, here's another annoying task that I know you don't want to do. Get it done. Then can you get this task done over here too? That's your reward for getting all of those tasks completed. Just like with your friend, you're gonna struggle to trust yourself. You'll be like, okay, damn, like that part of me is a taker. In future, I'm gonna resist her instructions because she'll just take. Which is why this idea is about creating a closed to-do list. I used to not respect a closed to-do list at all, until I realized that having a closed to-do list and not continuously adding on to the pile that is your to-do list is crucial when it comes to creating a positive relationship with productivity and getting things done. To action this advice, always have 2 lists going. Have your master list, which is where you put and dump all of the new to-do lists that come to your mind, and then have your weekly or daily to-do list, which are closed lists that you don't add to unless it's an emergency and it's absolutely necessary. necessary, or there's something really fun that you want to do as well. Idea number 4. This tacks on really nicely to the last idea. In Mark Forster's book, Do It Tomorrow, he says, one of the greatest secrets of time management is not to give things more urgency than they deserve. But that's what we do all day, every day. We get an email, we answer it immediately as if it's urgent. We get a request for a report, we do it here and now. We get asked for help from a colleague, we drop everything, we help them. When we do this, we not only violate the idea of the closed to-do list, we put ourselves behind, we create more stress for ourselves, which is why this idea is to do it tomorrow. Create a tomorrow list that you can add to every day. Whenever you get a more reactive task that's asking for your attention during the day, so usually this is going to come in the form of an email or a request from someone else, add it to your tomorrow list. Unless the task is so urgent that you have to do it right now, it goes on your tomorrow list and you plan it into your tomorrow. When you put these tasks on your tomorrow list, you create a sense of control. Since reactive tasks are usually the tasks that leave us in like the worst moods and make us feel the least productive, it's a really healthy and helpful thing to do them in a more controlled way. Idea number 5. One of my favorite metaphors when it comes to productivity and getting things done is food and cooking. When you first write down your tasks for the week, it feels like a fresh batch of meal prep. But when you put that meal prep in the fridge, or when you put that to-do list to the side, after a few days, if you're like me, you might feel resistant towards even opening that meal prep / looking at that to-do list. Even though it's this totally edible meal, or it's this totally valid to-do list, it just feels kind of repelling and a bit like, ugh. That's what happens to your to-do list when you don't interact with them regularly. They start to feel stale. They start to feel kind of repulsive. For lack of a better word, that's a strong word, but you get what I mean. And that can happen in a day. You could write a to-do list of a morning and by the afternoon, it feels a little repelling. But it can also happen more often in a week. You write a to-do list on a Monday and by Wednesday, you're like, There are 2 things that you can do to solve this problem. Number 1, make a point of interacting with your to-do list regularly. So reading over it, but also writing notes on it, changing things, making it a live document. You could take your to-do list on walks with you. You could take your to-do list on your commute and think through it then. Or number 2, redo your to-do list regularly. Midweek, redo your to-do list completely. You could do up your weekly to-do list a few times during the week. Very much you want to treat this like the KonMari method, where you take everything off of your list, go through it one by one, check the validity of it, and then you can put it back on your to-do list. Idea number 6. You know how it's like 1,000 times easier to create a HelloFresh meal than it is to create a meal from scratch? That is because they've made it feel really easy for you. You have all the information you need, you have a set of instructions, you have a list of tools you might need, you have all of the ingredients ready in one box for you. You can HelloFresh your 2 or 3 tasks that you feel the most resistant to, which is what this idea is all about. I call this setting the table for yourself. This could just be a page that's attached to your to-do list, or if you've got a digital to-do list, it's something that you can click open to. You can write yourself a list of instructions. You can write yourself a list of things that you might need. Include your launch tasks in there. If there are physical things that you need, you might put them in a little box or just in a little location that's easy to access. You can paint a picture of the final result just like HelloFresh do. This is not a HelloFresh sponsorship. It just aligned really nicely. If you liked this video, you are definitely going to like my video on 5 ways to plan your weeks or your days that aren't the Eisenhower matrix, that aren't time blocking. These are alternative ways of working that might work a little bit better for your brain. That's going to be linked on the screen as well as down below. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you soon.